Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present to you the least interesting name for a pair of football boots slash sneakers ever to exist. Introducing the Nike FC. I'm not joking. This thing is actually called the Nike FC. What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike FC, which is kind of like a lifestyle football boot inspired sneaker, but it's actually usable as a performance product. You can use these as indoors, you can use them for street soccer, and they are actually going to perform the part. Unlike the Adidas Tango line, most of those sneakers are made strictly for casual wear. These not only look cool, at least in my opinion, but you can actually play in them as well. These are not based on any of Nike's current boots, so there is a lot to go over as far as the design of the upper is concerned and the incorporation of a React foam cushioning setup, something we haven't seen too much from Nike as of yet. It looks the part, it feels the part, and trust me when I say, as an overall package, these are actually quite impressive. So we're gonna cover everything that you need to know in today's video, including how they fit and feel on feet. So if you wanna learn more, please stick around. And if you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $120 retail price. If you guys do end up enjoying the video and want to see more indoor reviews on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. So for those that don't know, the Nike FC line is a football inspired, mainly apparel line, but there has been some footwear included in that in the past. We've had sneaker variations of the Superfly and the Magistas and even the Hypervenoms, but they were strictly sneakers made for casual wear. This is the first time we're seeing a Nike FC sneaker that's not only designed to look cool, to be worn casually, but also to actually play in. It has a lot of interesting performance qualities. And again, it's not based off of any of Nike's current boots, which is particularly interesting. Although I think the best comparison is actually a piece of Nike footwear, and that is the Nike Epic React, which I have right here. This is a straight up running shoe. Of course, the first to incorporate their React foam cushioning, which is kind of like the latest and greatest lunar lawn cushioning, something that was very popular, or still is pretty popular within the Nike brand. It's a little bit firmer, a little bit bouncier overall. And of course, they've incorporated that same type of material in the midsole on the Nike FC, which is still the stupidest name ever. Starting with the way that these look, because that is particularly important given that this is intended to be a casual wear sneaker when you're not actually playing in them. I actually happen to think that they look quite cool. This particular colorway is pretty straightforward, incorporating some army green, a little bit of a black detail to it, the camo across the top, the Nike FC written out underneath the laces in white, I think is a cool touch. The little accent of the pull tab on the back in kind of this reddish pinkish orange color. And then of course the solid white midsole with the gum bottom, I just think looks quite clean. It's got the big Nike swoosh on the one side and then the small Nike swoosh on the other, which I actually prefer the small swoosh. I think if they did that on either side, that would look really cool. But from a visual standpoint, they still look like indoor soccer shoes, which I am personally not a huge fan of in regards to wearing casually. But at the same time, they look enough like sneakers, especially given the cut being a little bit more of a mid rather than a low, and the overall styling, they kept things nice and simple. I just think they look quite cool, but let me know your opinions on them down below in the comments. As far as the upper is concerned, there are things about it that I like and dislike. The overall quality I wouldn't say is particularly impressive, being that it is a mostly mesh and fused based synthetic. The fused technically being their NikeSkin material, which is just thin polyurethane fused on top of mesh. We see this from pretty much every brand. Nike just has their own fancy name for it. And I personally would have loved to have seen a Flyknit upper, something like the Epic React, but obviously with more structure to it, which you will get from this mesh-based synthetic. But had they gone with a full Flyknit upper, you can almost guarantee that these would have been a lot more expensive, probably $150 to $180, which I think would turn a lot of people away. At $120, I think from a pricing perspective for this style of footwear, that's actually a pretty good sweet spot for Nike and actually kind of reasonable given what you're actually getting here. So it's a mesh-based synthetic synthetic that's relatively thin, but it does have some padding to it. This isn't necessarily going to have a super barefoot feel, and it's mostly exposed mesh aside from the green bits that you see fused around the outside edges. You can see right here on the medial side, right at the base of the forefoot, where you're going to be making contact with the ball a lot, they added that sandpaper-like texturing that's not only going to allow for extra grip on the ball, which is definitely noticeable, it's a durability element as well, because that is kind of a high wear zone once you actually start playing in these, especially if you're on concrete, which is going to be a lot harder on the shoes themselves. But as a whole, it's pretty much just straight mesh, which makes the upper very, very flexible and soft on your feet. Pretty much nothing to break in. It does, to a certain extent, have that sock-like sensation. It's also a one-piece construction to the upper, where the central portion is filled in with this kind of mesh material. Reminds me a lot of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1, that kind of mesh-based honeycomb material that we saw as the base for the upper. That runs through the middle of the shoe. It has a little bit of stretch to it, but it's not overly stretchy. And then of course it uses a dual lace hole setup almost all the way up until you get to the final lacing position, where you do have a nylon strap as a final attachment point that does run all the way into the base of the sole, giving you really good ankle lockdown. It's a little bit of a stability element to kind of reinforce this mesh-based material, and it does actually work quite well. Moving to the rear of the shoe, you're going to find that it does have somewhat of a mid-cut design, but without a collar. Its actual structure around the ankle, so it's a little bit bulkier than I think most football shoes would have on offer. I'm not particularly crazy about that, but from a looks perspective, I really like the look of this particular cut. And given that this is not necessarily something you would buy as dedicated indoor shoes, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just something that you're going to have to get used to. I love the inclusion of this suede at the back. I think that gives it a very premium look, and that pretty much outlines where you're going to have the internal plastic heel counter, so plenty of structure at the back as well. And then moving on to the heel liner, there is lots of padding back there, especially at the very back. It basically has this kind of constructed padding around the top edges of the heel liner, really locking your heel in place when you tie the laces tight. And it's made out of this soft, almost neoprene type material, which can be a little bit slick against your socks, but once you tie the laces tight, because there's so much lockdown, heel slippage is not an issue whatsoever. Something that I don't really care for, and I think shouldn't be a thing at this particular price point, is the fact that the insoles are fully glued in and pretty much non-removable. If you did want to remove them, you'd end up tearing up the insole because they did use a ton of glue. At $120, I expect the insole to be removable, just to have the option of swapping them out for something else if I want to do that. Moving on to the midsole, it's made out of Nike's React foam with that same pattern you're gonna find on the Epic React. And it does have a fairly low profile sensation, but at the same time, you're not super close to the ground while wearing these, which is fine, again, because this is not necessarily something you should buy as a dedicated pair of indoors. It's something that is designed to be comfortable and look cool to wear on a casual basis, but also something that you can play in if a pickup game breaks out in the streets or something like that. So for most people, I don't think you're gonna have any issues with this, but if you like being particularly close to the ground, these are not necessarily gonna have that feel. As far as the cushioning that you get from this React foam material, it feels quite good. It's kind of firm, but it does have that little bit of bounciness to it, but it's also stable enough to, if you are gonna sprint or make a quick change of direction, you're not gonna have any issues with rolling your ankle or anything like that. It does actually work well in this particular application, and it does have extra stability built into the heel area. You can see this kind of green color where it does actually say Nike React. That's hard plastic that kind of runs around the outside edge. Again, just to stabilize the heel area where you don't want it to be too mushy when you're making quick changes of direction. As far as the outsole is concerned, you can see it's a gum rubber color, and it's actually a regrind rubber that's particularly durable, and it has that same kind of, I don't even know what you would call this, I guess like a wavy pattern that you find in the React foam as well, kind of taken from the Epic React. This is a pattern that's fairly new to the Nike brand. On concrete, it grips extremely well. On an indoor court, I find that it kind of clogs up with dust pretty easily, and it can be slick. You have to constantly wipe, but that's gonna be the case with dusty courts and pretty much any pair of indoors. So I guess from a traction perspective in the streets, really good. I like the fact that it does have this added kind of I guess, lip on the outside edge of the forefoot, as well as around the high wear zone here at the tip of the toe. So durability, again, is going to be a strong suit, not only in regards to the, I guess, connection between the outsole and the upper, but also in regards to how much this rubber is actually going to wear down, because concrete can really wear down your indoor shoes quite quickly. It's not going to happen though with this particular material, because like I said, it is specifically designed for street soccer use. And then when it comes to weight, in a size 9.5 US, the Nike FC weighs in at about 10 ounces exactly, which is not particularly light, not super heavy for a pair of indoors either, but if you are looking for that low profile, super lightweight feel, these are not necessarily going to provide it. These are made both to look cool as well as perform the part, which they definitely do. They don't do that in a particularly lightweight package, but honestly, at 10 ounces, I have no issues with how these feel. So as you can see, I swapped out the stock green laces, which match the boots, but they're really, really thick. I'm not sure why they use these kind of cheaper looking laces. Not a fan of them. I've swapped them out for some green camo SR4U replacement laces, which match all of the green camo colors that you find throughout this entire sneaker, including the gum rubber bottom, which I think looks really, really cool, makes them that much more unique as well. So if you are interested in some replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, the Nike FC sneakers pretty much feel as you would expect them to. They're very comfortable with the fully mesh base upper and the React foam cushioning underfoot, but it also does have a snug kind of soccer style fit to it, and that these are actually designed to be played in. You don't want them to be super wide, super high volume and sloppy on your feet, which they are not at all. You also notice that I'm wearing these with low cut ankle socks, something that I would typically never do or recommend doing with any pair of football boots. And the reason why I'm doing it with these is mainly because they're actually designed for it. The way this collar is, the material they've used, the soft neoprene, it's not gonna cut you or cause you any kind of discomfort. And given that these are made for casual wear, this is probably how I would wear them casually if I was wearing them with shorts. But again, that's gonna vary from person to person. The upper, because it's mesh based, really doesn't have much stiffness to it. The React foam, because it's still relatively thin, very flexible as well. And again, there's just not much to break in here. It's more so just a matter of getting used to the way that they feel on feet. As far as the fit is concerned, width-wise, they're not quite as wide as I was expecting them to be. They're relatively snug pretty much all the way through, more width through the midfoot for sure, but the forefoot and toe box area, I would say, is on the tighter side. You're not gonna get too much stretch out of this fuse material that they have over top of the mesh. So if you have really wide feet, maybe not the best option for you. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and they actually fit quite snug. Not too tight, but really, really snug. I could honestly probably wear a 10 in these and not have too many issues with them. But overall, I would say if you want a nice tight fit, stay true to size. If you want a little bit of extra space, maybe go a half size up. So in conclusion, as I've said many times before on this channel, I really like the idea of football boot inspired sneakers. If they can look cool and feel good, that's a good thing. And most brands, Nike included, have kind of done this, but more so gauged towards lifestyle. This kind of bridges the gap between being cool looking and a very wearable lifestyle sneaker, but at the same time, if you actually want to play in them, you can do that as well. And that to me is something that's particularly cool. As much as I'm an enthusiast of sneakers, I'm an enthusiast of performance and I guess the tech behind performance features as well. And this is a good hybrid of the two together in one shoe for a fairly reasonable price. $120 is by no means cheap, but there really isn't much else like this out there on the market. I would kind of say that this is like a more high-tech variation of the Adidas Samba Classic, which up until this point, I would personally say is kind of like the ultimate casual wear street soccer shoe. But if you want something a little bit more modern, obviously from Nike instead of Adidas as well, the Nike FC is definitely something that's worth considering. But the name is dumb. Fix the name. Anyways, guys, that is it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $120 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.